Part 27. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 261. Chapter 261 Uninstalling the game, throwing hairpins, and getting earrings. Yahweh took a plane to G-City alone and flew back by himself without anyone knowing. She unloaded the video games in her hands, threw away the broken cherry hairpins in the drawer, and took off the earrings from her ears. Finally, he stared closely at the registration form for the singer competition with a firm look in his eyes. I will win. She locked herself in the room to practice the song for the competition, and knew the lyrics by heart over and over again without ruining her voice. New Year. On the day of the competition, Nangong Luo drove to pick her up, with Gongkin Li sitting in the passenger seat. The two of them greeted her warmly and served her a nutritious breakfast. Yahweh responded with a smile, "Thank you Li Yulai for the breakfast, and thank you brother Nangong for being our free driver." Nangong Luo leaned back and deliberately teased her, "What a free driver? I'll ask the boss to collect the money later." Gongkin Li rolled her eyes at him and stuffed the cake into his mouth. "Are you happy with it?" Seeing their interaction without any barriers, Yahweh's emotions were also affected, and he laughed unconsciously. "But my heart is still heavy." Nangong Luo thought she was nervous, so he quickly changed his words, "Only sister, you can relax now and face the competition. No matter what the result is, I will give you 2 gifts. Gongkin Li nodded in agreement and agreed, "Yes, the only one, my flowers will be delivered to the scene on time, and I guarantee you a long face." Hearing their concerned tone, Yahweh finally had a sweet smile on his face. "I know, thank you. The important thing is to participate. Let's go, let's take part in the competition." Nangong Luo's driving skills were very stable, and he arrived at the competition site in just half an hour. This singing competition is held indoors, and audiences need to buy tickets to enter. Nangong Luo looked for a seat, while Gongkin Li accompanied Yahweh to the back court. This is just the preliminary round, and there is no need to dress up in a grand way. Yahweh was wearing a blue one-shoulder sweater and a white woolen skirt today, with a half-crown bun and a small blue bell hairpin. When the competition was about to start, the backstage staff led the contestants into another room. "The contestants will prepare, and the rest will wait in the outer room." Gongkin Li comforted her before leaving. "The only thing is, don't be nervous." Okay, the only one who nodded in yeah was Gaiking. But actually, she was very nervous. "Although I have attended school, this time I went on stage alone and had to face more strangers. Most of the contestants don't know each other in the crowd. When they are nervous, they talk to the people next to them. Everyone was quite modest, except for one girl who wore mature makeup and a dress with her head held high and her chest held high. I'm different from you, I will definitely win the first prize." I heard someone whisper that that girl has a relationship with a certain referee. But at this moment, I still feel that as long as I have the strength to surpass others, that will be enough. Gongkin Li left the backstage to meet Nangong Luo. They bought a good seat and could see everything on the stage clearly. "I was still very nervous when I came down just now." Gongkin Li was obviously not as cheerful as she was in front of Yahweh just now. She thought clearly, "I think she is waiting for Brother Chen." Nangong Luo hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help but say, "Actually, when I contacted Gu Chenxi yesterday, I seemed to have heard that the boss was at his place." Gongkin Li reached out to grab his shoulders, and suddenly caught a glimpse of a figure at the entrance to the side. She quickly held Nangong Luo's face and turned it away. "Does that figure over there look familiar to you? Want to know who is coming? I'll tell you tomorrow on Chinese Valentine's Day. Kaibao, please leave a message for voting on Chinese Valentine's Day. Kiss." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 262. Chapter 262 Congratulations, my monitor. The figure turned around just in time. Nangong Luo turned his head and blurted out, "Boss." But Yezikin didn't hear it and even walked away from the exit. "That's not right, why is he gone? Call Brother Chen quickly." Gong Qinli fiddled with her cell phone and got through quickly. There were many people in the venue, the noise was noisy, and the phone calls could not be heard clearly. Gong Qinli asked a few questions and the phone was hung up. Soon, she received a message from Yezikin. There were only 3 words on it: "I know." He knew that Ye Weiwei was going to participate in the competition today, so he came here. Gong Qinli smiled happily, "We really worry too much. Brother Chen is the only person who loves you the most." Nangong Luo sat down and leaned back on the chair, and he breathed a sigh of relief. "Oh, the boss is so mysterious now. No one can guess what he is thinking or what he is going to do." Yezikin and Gu Jinsi were very close, but the exchange between the two men was a high-intelligence conversation, and their tone of voice was tight. If they were unwilling to speak, they would have no way of getting it out of their mouths. Facing the city-wide singer competition, various people came to participate in the selection, but very few were allowed to sing a whole song. Most of them entered the stage with great vigor and ended up in despair. Ye Weiwei sat quietly in the background, looking at his number plate and curling his fingers together. She was nervous. "Who is Chiao Lian?" Suddenly she heard someone calling her name. Ye Wei raised her head and slowly raised her hand. "My name is Chiao Ling." A staff member handed her a box as big as the palm of her hand and said, "Someone asked me to give this to you." "Who?" "Say you'll know it when you see it." "Oh, thank you." Ye Weiwei opened the box and found a Bluetooth headset inside. "Put your hand on your lips." After a moment of surprise, the corners of your mouth can't help but rise. Like someone is really a very simple thing, as long as he takes a little initiative, one action or one word can change your mood in an instant. She put on the headphones, and the broken hair on both sides of her face was covered, which was not obtrusive at all. Ye Weiwei pursed her lips and recited the lyrics silently in her mind to calm her heartbeat. Suddenly, a gentle and unique voice came to her ears. "Sorry, I am late. Don't be afraid, I will be with you." Ye Weiwei closed her eyes tightly, and her mind suddenly went blank. His voice is so sweet and seductive. When it was Ye Wei's turn to go on stage, she thought of wrestling on the stage of Xinjiao Academy, but she stood up bravely in front of the whole school. No one laughed at her later, but instead said a lot of encouraging words to her. Ye Weiwei suddenly understood that failure is not terrible, as long as she works hard to do her best. The beautiful singing voice spread throughout the venue through the microphone, and she was lucky enough to be allowed to sing the entire song. The atmosphere was lively and there was endless applause. Only when I stepped down from the stage, I felt a little dizzy. At this moment, the elegant and gentle voice came from the earphones again, "Don't leave after you get off the stage. I'll come to find you." Ye Wei suddenly woke up and stood there blankly. Gong Qinli walked up to her with a large bouquet of flowers and stuffed the flowers into her arms under the attention of others. "My dear, you are so wonderful." At this time, Lu Biang and Su Yuchen suddenly appeared. Su Yuchen approached with a bouquet of pink and white roses in his hand, a clear smile on his handsome face. "Congratulations, my monitor." How about letting Su Yuchen confess? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 263. Chapter 263 False Gentleness, Domineering Nature. The flower language of pink roses is, a vow of love, Gong Qinli whispered in Ye Weiwei's ear. Ye Weiwei pretended not to know and smiled casually. "Su Yuchen, Lu Biang, what are you doing?" "Give you flowers, squad leader Chiao," Brother Su has something important to say to you. Lu Biang pointed to the bouquet of flowers in Su Yuchen's hand, instigating his brother to express his love quickly. Su Yuchen held up the pink rose flower steadily. Jiao Li, I give you the flowers and wish you success. After knowing the language of flowers, Ye Wei didn't dare to believe it, but he didn't dare to accept it either. Ye Wei declined politely, I already have a bouquet of flowers here, and I can't hold another one. I appreciate your kindness. Squad leader, how can these two bouquets of flowers have the same meaning? Yours is a sign of sisterly affection, but ours is just a sign of his. At the critical moment when the word confession was about to blurt out, Su Yuchen put a hand on Lu Biang's shoulder. Su Yuchen blocked Lu Biang behind his back and explained eloquently, my classmates raised money to buy it to express their congratulations to the monitor. Lu Biang's eyes twitched when he heard these perfect remarks. This flower. But Su Yuchen paid for it alone. Ye Wei was also confused. Yes, is that so? Su Yuchen turned around and gave Lu Biang a cold blow, and Lu Biang understood it instantly. Lu Biang echoed Su Yuchen's words, yes, yes, that's right. Don't you think that the monitor usually works too hard for our class, so everyone bought this flower? I also heard that most girls like pink, so I picked this one. Seeing that Jiao Yan still refused to accept it, Lu Biang scratched his head and simply pestered Ye Wei to play tricks. Squad leader, just accept it, otherwise it will be a waste. Okay, thank you. Ye Wei held the flowers sent by Gong Qinli to her left hand, and stretched out her right hand to pick up the pink roses. Suddenly a slender arm crossed over and took away the words Su Yuchen sent. Everyone turned around in shock, only to see a tall boy standing behind Ye Wei, glancing at him with a noble and elegant temperament in every move he made. Ye only subconsciously called for someone, but made no sound. She held the flowers sent by Gong Qinli in both hands, holding them tighter and tighter. With Yezikin's height, his delicate and beautiful hands like jade were placed on the top of Ye Wei's head, his eyes touched the hairpin of the little blue bell, and a charming smile appeared on his face. Yezikin came up from behind and said, I thank you for your kindness. But after he thanked him, he threw the flowers to Nangong Luo to hold. Ye Wei's mind went blank, and he didn't even know what he said to Nangong Luo and the others. By the time she reacted, she had already been taken out of the competition venue by Yezikin. Everyone behind her saw that Yezikin naturally took Ye Wei's hand and led her out, but Ye Wei didn't struggle at all. Such trust is enviable. The knight was brought out, as if wandering in a fugue or deep in thought. She looked down at the hands held by the two of them, and suddenly broke away forcefully. He was thrown away without warning, and their hands separated. Ye Wei deliberately took a few steps away from him, and even walked back. Yezikin's smile disappeared from his lips. What do you want to do? Ye Wei paused for a few seconds and said firmly, of course I will go back and get my flowers. You're not allowed to go. In addition to his gentle appearance, he revealed his domineering nature. Hands curled up, Ye Wei looked directly at him and spoke out his rebuttal for the first time, that's something someone else gave me, you have nothing to do with it. It's better to quarrel. If there is any plot that creates conflicts, just say it. If you tell me, I will write it. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 264. Chapter 264 Others can touch her. Ye Wei, Yezikin called her full name, obviously angry. My name is Jiao Li, she blurted out her retort. Ye Wei tightened his fingers. The scene of his natural interaction with Su Tangzi flashed in his mind, and his heartbeat suddenly accelerated. She dared to look at Yezikin with her eyes open, but the twinkle in her eyes came from jealousy. She hates those women who appear around Yezikin, especially those who covet Yezikin. The so-called school beauties in the past, such as Yun Mensi. In fact, She was not afraid that Yunmensi could Yezikin away at all at that time. But it was different now. Yezikin was too close to Su Tangzi, so close that she was in danger. Little Belle, don't make me angry. Do you think I'm a child and think I'm making trouble unreasonably? I've grown up and know what I should do and what I shouldn't do. Ye Wei raised his head and shouted loudly, brother. This call does not have the slightest sense of intimacy as usual. Just when the two were confronting each other, Su Yuchen and Lu Biang had already chased them out. And the pink rose has returned to Su Yuchen's hands for some reason. Su Yuchen held the rose in his hand and approached step by step. He ignored Yezikin's presence and sent it directly to Ye Wei. Xiao Li, I think it would be better to give this flower to you in person. Okay, thank you. This time Ye Wei took the flowers into her arms without hesitation. Su Yuchen smiled contentedly. Lu Biang waved goodbye to Ye Wei. Squad leader, you had so much fun. We are going back to school. We will be informed of the results of the competition, etc. Just when Lu Biang took a step, Ye Wei suddenly caught up with him, a smile on his face. Anyway, today is the last day of vacation. Do you mind if I go back to school with you? Lu Biang turned his head in surprise, saw Ye Wei's face that clearly said unhappy, and nodded slowly. 3 people are traveling together. Xiao Li, came the cold voice from behind. Hearing the shout, Ye Wei paused for a moment, without even turning his head, and continued walking forward, getting to the light rail station. Today Yezikin called her 3 times, Ye Wei, Xiao Lingdang, and Xiao Ling. Ye Wei couldn't even laugh even if he wanted to. Since childhood, this is the first time that Yezikin has shown his face so decisively. She is so brave. Actually, she was afraid that she would not be able to control herself and tell Yezikin her dark thoughts that would destroy everything. In this way, she will leave an indelible flaw in Yezikin's face forever. She doesn't allow it. On the way back to school, Ye Wei leaned against the railing of the light rail, his eyes open and dull. Lu Biang used his good eloquence and chirped along the way, squad leader, who is that guy? He's very handsome. Ye Wei glanced at him and continued to remain silent. Lu Biang turned around and asked Su Yuchen again, brother Su, who is that guy? He's quite handsome. If he's a love rival, tisk tisk, it's too hard to compare. Her brother? What? That's her brother. Su Yuchen rolled his eyes at Lu Biang and began to close his eyes to rest. You two are pretending to be serious with me, it's boring. Lu Biang glanced left and right, then simply took out his mobile phone and started playing a game. Waiting until school, Su Yuchen took the initiative to help Ye Wei pick up a bouquet of flowers and sent Ye Wei downstairs to the girls' dormitory. Ye Zi thanked him listlessly. Su Yuchen's hand suddenly touched the top of her head. Xiao Li, don't move. Ye Wei turned around subconsciously, only to see Yezikin not far away. Suddenly like to torture. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 265. Chapter 265, There is a tiger in my heart, and I smell the rose carefully. Su Yuchen touched her head, but Ye Wei resisted not moving, but his eyes kept falling on Yezikin not far away. She did it on purpose. If you come to me, I will forgive you. Ye Wei stared at Yezikin and silently made a wish in his heart. If Yezikin would be angry because of jealousy when she saw this scene, then she would be willing to take the initiative to explain that she went to G City to find him. It can backfire. Yezikin left without looking back. There's something on your head, let me take it off for you. Ye Wei was stunned on the spot, and Su Yuchen didn't even notice that he not only touched his head but also moved closer. Since childhood, except for Nangang Luo, whom Yezikin defaulted to, she never took the initiative to approach other members of the opposite sex, nor did she want to let others approach. Because at that time, besides her, Yezikin was only close to Gongqin Li. Separable from them, Everything is slowly changing. Ah! She bit her lip until it hurt before she let go. Suddenly she realized that she was very close to Suyuchin. Her eyes looked up, she glanced her head to the side, and blurted out in a very unkind tone, "Go away." Suyuchin was hit. Ye Wei ran into the dormitory building holding 2 bouquets of flowers. When she went up the stairs, there were always people pointing at her, probably because of the 2 bouquets of flowers in her hands. She suddenly stopped at the corner of the stairs, turned around and ran to the first floor. She raised her hand and was about to throw the pink roses in her hand into the big blue trash can. 2 girls passing by quickly stopped her. "Wow, classmate, you just threw away such a big bouquet of flowers. You are a rich man." I turned his head and generously handed the pink rose over. "If you like it, I'll give it to you." The girl was also very generous and took the flowers in her hand without hesitation. "Wow, thank you." Wei smiled faintly, but there was no real smile. She carried the bouquet of flowers sent by Gongkin Li back to her dormitory. Her roommates all praised the beauty of the flowers. The bouquet of flowers was very large, so Ye only took a few flowers and gave them to the people in the dormitory. After Ye Wei left, the 2 girls who got the roses made a fuss and took 2. "I don't know which grade she is from. She is holding 2 bouquets of flowers, most likely from her boyfriend." "Impossible, she wouldn't throw it away as a gift from her boyfriend. According to me, what she kept was a gift from her boyfriend. These pink roses were probably a gift from her suitor." "What you said makes sense." The girl holding the flower nodded with deep understanding. When they were playing with the flower branches, they found a roll of paper tied with a pink ribbon and a bow hidden inside. "Wow, there's something good here. Hurry and take it apart to see what it is." One person is holding flowers and the other is opening the note. After unfolding the note, they clearly saw a sentence written on it: "If you have a tiger in your heart, smell the rose carefully." I don't know which class that girl was in just now. This thing should be for her to see. How about we take a photo of the message and post it on campus and see if anyone responds? I think it's okay. 2 kind-hearted girls gathered together and quickly responded to the dormitory to take pictures with their mobile phones and post them. Lu Baiyangang, who was paralyzed in bed and playing with his mobile phone after returning to his dormitory, checked into the Taiba forum. New post: the young lady has dropped the flowers and hopes to come to on the 6th floor of building B to claim them. Brother Su, come and see, your roses have been picked up. Lu Biang was very sure, because in the photo taken, the rose bouquet and the roll of paper tied with a ribbon bow were clearly separated. Suyuchin, who was wiping his hair with a white towel, threw the towel away and rushed out of the dormitory. Are you really confessing your love this time? Baidu, the British poet Sagreeb Sassoon once wrote an immortal poem, "There is a tiger in my heart sniffing the roses." I really like the artistic conception of the tiger sniffing the rose. This is the most appropriate way to express the delicacy of love. No matter what kind of person you are, as long as you have love in your heart, you will become very gentle, tiptoeing, approaching the beauty cautiously, for fear of being frightened and falling off the morning dew on the stamens. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 266. Chapter 266 Confession Failed. Suyuchin called Ye Wei while going downstairs. Ye Wei, who was arranging flowers in the dormitory, saw the call. He hesitated but answered it. "Chiao Li. Where are you?" In the first second of the call, Suyuchin went straight to the point and asked her location. Ye Wei frowned slightly. "I'm in the dormitory, what's wrong?" Suyuchin said, "Now, go downstairs." Ye Wei let go of the flower branch in his hand and focused on listening to the phone. "Is something wrong?" It's something, it's very important, he answered resolutely, and his breathing could be heard clearly from the call. Ye Wei didn't think much and went downstairs to the dormitory with her cell phone in her pocket. Rose flower, where is it? She didn't expect that Su Yuchen's first question after rushing to find her was to ask about the rose flower. Ye was the only one who couldn't react in time and stayed there. You threw it away, didn't you? Su Yuchen got to the point directly. She was speechless, and all the panic flashing in her eyes fell into Su Yuchen's eyes. He opened his mouth with a cool smile. Did you really throw it away? Ye Wei raised her head and glanced at him quickly before looking away. Facing the person who sent the flowers, Ye Wei had the nerve to tell him that in fact, she didn't care about the bouquet of roses at all. So she lied consciously, no, it's not. Stuttering because she is nervous. Su Yuchen lowered his eyes and stared at her face carefully, and found that it was different from the previous one. The face and eyes of the former little girl became clearer and clearer, and even her round, baby fat cheeks began to lose weight. The side lines are soft, and her increasingly elongated face makes her delicate facial features even more delicate. Because of the close distance, her black and slender eyelashes can be clearly seen trembling from top to bottom. Su Yuchen asked, do you know there is something in that flower? Huh? Ye Wei was confused. Su Yuchen could tell from her reaction when she looked up that she did not see the note inside the rose flower. Of course he didn't believe the reason mentioned by Taiba, falling behind. He personally sent Ye Yi downstairs to the dormitory. Where could Ye Yi be left? If you go to someone else's dormitory and stay there, they must know each other. Ken. The person who posted the post obviously didn't know Ye Wei, so he went to the Taiba forum to look for her. Where can the flower fall? The most likely answer is that Ye Wei threw the flower away. She didn't even look at the flower carefully and didn't even notice the note. Ye Wei asked with a guilty conscience, is there anything in the flower? Do you know, that flower is? The words that showed his feelings were almost blurted out. Two girls suddenly rushed over from the side and greeted the only one of the night. Hey, classmate, were they the roses you gave us just now? Bumped into each other, and the scene was very embarrassing for a time. Ye Wei smiled sarcastically, okay, I guess so. I was just looking for you. There is something unopened inside the rose. Here it is. The girl put the roll of paper tied with a bow into her hand, thanked her, and praised the rose as being special in the dormitory. Nice. Ye Wei stared at the roll of paper and slowly made up an excuse to Su Yuchen, flowers, because 2 bouquets of flowers will be ruined when I take them back to the dormitory, so I gave them away. Su Yuchen took a deep breath. Do you know, that flower is? The words that express his feelings will be blurted out again. Suddenly a cell phone ringtone broke this wonderful atmosphere. The mobile phone held tightly in Ye Ye's hand was vibrating, and the sign of someone coming was Li Yulai. Sorry, I'll take a call. She took 2 steps back. Lu Li. Only, Brother Chen fainted and is in the hospital. Thanks for the reward, Xia Tian. By the way, do you really want to torture me? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 267. Chapter 267. Let's rob people. Yezikin, fainted. Ye Wei couldn't imagine what this concept was. Where are you? His worried and anxious tone was filled with tears. Gong Qinli told her not to worry, and told her the address. We are at Gu Jinxi's house. No longer caring about misunderstandings and quarrels, she sucked in the tears dripping from the corners of her eyes and took the lead in compromising. I'll be there right away. Su Yuchen saw that she was not in a good mood, and the words that she had not been able to say twice just now were already in her heart. Ye Wei took 2 steps, and Su Yuchen followed him involuntarily. What happened? Is there anyone who needs help? There's something going on, but you can't help. I'll explain it to you later. She didn't have time to explain, so she ran straight to the school gate while walking. There happened to be a yellow taxi parked at the school gate. As soon as the people inside the door got out, Ye Wei got in and said, "Driver, go to Mingshan Garden." The driver was confused, and seeing how anxious she was, he speeded up and drove out. Su Yuchen chased him to the school gate, just a step too late. Why did the boss faint? This is not normal. He is obviously as strong as a cow. Ahem. Gong Qinli punched Nangong Luo to stop him from saying something he shouldn't have said. No wonder Gu Chenxi wants to kick you out, you are too noisy. How can you blame me? I'm worried too. I also find it very strange whoever faints shouldn't be Brother Chen. This is so strange. You also said that when the only one comes, you should not talk nonsense, it will scare her. Yezikin hid his affairs very well. No one except Gu Chenxi, a doctor, and himself knew that he was suffering from a chronic disease. The two of them stood at the door and sighed in unison, when they suddenly heard the sound of hurried footsteps approaching from far away. Gong Qinli raised her eyes and looked around. She originally thought it was Ye Yi, but it was Su Tangzi who appeared. Su Tangzi looked nervous and the concern in his eyes was not concealed. He asked anxiously, "Where is Yezikin?" The upright Nangong Luo stretched out his hand and pointed back, "Inside, Gu Chenxi is watching." Su Tangzi opened the door and went in without saying a word, but Gong Qinli quickly stopped her with quick eyes and hands. Gong Qinli blocked the door and refused to let in. "You can't go in now." Su Tangzi frowned dissatisfied, but did not push in. "Then how is he?" Gong Qinli and Nangong Luo shook their heads and said, "I don't know. They are people who were kicked out by doctors." Click. There was a slight sound of the door opening, and it was Gu Chenxi who came out. Wearing a mask, Gu Chenxi looked back and said in a cold voice, "Okay, I won't die." Su Tangzi was the first to open the door. Gong Qinli grabbed Nangong Luo, tiptoed close to his ear and asked quietly, "Who told her?" "It's not me anyway." Nangong Luo shook his head, the expression on his face was very innocent. Gong Qinli sighed deeply, "Can you get her away?" Nangong Luo frowned in surprise, "You want to take Su Tangzi away?" Gong Qinli nodded hurriedly. Nangong Luo shook his head slowly, "No way, she is not easy to fool. But the only one is coming soon, so we can't let her see her." Gong Qinli reached out and pushed the door open. Just as his body was leaning forward, Nangong Luo grabbed her and said, "She is already here." "What can't you let me see?" She was breathing heavily as she spoke. "Where is Brother Chen?" Gong Qinli was speechless. "Where is it?" Nangong Luo took a step away from the door and pointed, "Inside. I went to Comic-Con today on Chinese Valentine's Day. I walked in high heels all day, it was miserable. Please comfort me. Do you think I am letting little Belle continue to misunderstand? Or fight with Su Tangzi?" End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 268. Chapter 268. Are you in love? Ye Wei took 2 steps towards the door, and the scene in front of him was shocking. I saw Yezikin sitting by the bed, and Su Tangzi was nestled in his arms. "What are you doing?" The surroundings were quiet, and the only sound in the night seemed particularly abrupt. Hearing Ye Wei's words, the smile on Su Tangzi's face gradually dissipated. The anxiety on Ye Wei's face faded, and his dark eyes turned cold. Before the 2 people beside the bed could answer, Ye Wei had something in mind. He stared at Yezikin with a deep look, and the slight curve of his mouth turned into sarcasm. "It seems that you are in good spirits." When everyone was shocked by her reaction. The only thing that night was the door slamming with a bang. Nangong Luo and Gong Qinli, who were still fighting outside, looked confused. "What happened?" "I don't know." Nangong Luo opened the door and turned around to look inside. He saw Yezikin sitting on the bed and Su Tangzi sitting on the ground. Oops, Gonkinli clapped her hands, you're stupid, I'm going to chase him. But by the time they chased him out, Ye Wei had already disappeared. She ran out all the way, feeling sore in her heart and looking up to the sky to hold back her tears. Once a tiny crack appears in many things, it will become a flaw that can never be healed. As long as it encounters another impact, the tiny crack will become bigger and bigger, and finally the thing will be broken without any room for recovery. She didn't know which street she ran to, so she turned around and hid under the big tree, squatting down and crying silently. Suddenly a hand gently landed on her head. That unique sense of security made Ye Wei suddenly stop crying. It's not a familiar feeling, it's not Yezikin. She quickly wiped away her tears and still refused to look back. Suyuchin squatted beside her, the expression on his face was unexplainable for the moment. Why are you crying here? The tone was slightly distressed. Ye Wei glanced at him slightly and asked him the same question, why you? I'm always behind you, he explained in a very light voice, but it contained a lot of information. When Suyuchin chased him to the school gate, Ye Wei happened to get into a taxi, but he was so angry that he threw away his hands. Perhaps God was kind, but another taxi stopped at that time. He asked the driver to speed up and catch up with the only car in the night, and followed her silently. These subconscious actions were originally unexplainable. But when he had a clear understanding in his heart, the mysterious feelings poured into his heart like a trickle of water. He felt sorry for the girl in front of him. Because of her heartbeat, she feels distressed when she is sad and cries. Ye Wei felt sad in her heart, I'm sorry for letting you see me like this. No matter what you look like, that person is you. Ye Wei sniffed, don't say some strange words, and don't look at me. If you do this, I won't be able to cry. Ha ha. Suyuchin, who was originally affected by Ye Wei's crying look, suddenly laughed happily. Why are you laughing? Ye Wei's whole little face became tangled. She felt sour in her heart and wanted to cry, but others smiled in front of her, which made her unable to cry. I think you are very cute, the little cutie shouldn't cry. Suyuchin couldn't help laughing because he felt. She can act so cute even when she's crying? The little cutie stepped on Ye Wei's little tail again, and her hair instantly exploded, you are so young. I have grown up. What about falling in love? Replying to the book review section, I went to the comic exhibition in Chongqing on Kixi Festival. It was so fun to take photos of my sister. Happily let me know the book club number, 1450160019. Remember to sign in the book review area, the list of winners will be announced tomorrow. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Kixi. Chapter 269. Chapter 269, Taking Advantage of Others' Danger. Ye Wei suddenly stopped crying. Let's talk about falling in love. Everyone who grows up will fall in love, so will you fall in love? Suyuchin handed out the roll of paper tied with a bow ribbon. That was dropped on the ground when Yezili was in a hurry to leave just now. Ye Wei clasped his hands tightly and didn't dare to take it. She casually wiped her tears and stood up, pretending not to understand what it meant. It's time to study in the evening, go back to school quickly. Suyuchin retracted his hand as if he didn't care, and deliberately teased her, Monitor, are you really dedicated to your work, and do you take care of your classmates outside? Ye Wei lowered his head and shook his head, and replied casually, if you don't want to go back, you can continue to stay outside. Suyuchin saw that she no longer shed tears and his brows relaxed. He took the lead and waved to Ye Wei, the squad leader has already spoken, of course I have to cooperate. A taxi with a red light happened to pass by. Suyuchin reached out to stop it. After opening the door, he stood by the door and made a please gesture. Ye Wei shook his head and refused. Su Yuchen stepped forward and pulled her in. He smiled and said, "Squad leader, if you don't leave, you'll be late." Although she is 1.6 meters tall, she is still petite compared to boys who grow quickly. The only person in the night seemed to be stuffed into a car. Su Yuchen also sat next to her. Ye Wei was so nervous that he didn't even know where to put his hands. He just moved slowly towards the left window. Su Yuchen could lean on the right side calmly and silently take in her little movements. Su Yuchen's heart, she is indeed very cute. Gu Chenxi's medical skills are well known in the medical community, but he always feels that sooner or later, his reputation will be defeated by Yezikin's. Patients will cooperate well according to the doctor's instructions in order to treat their own conditions. But Yezikin is a life-threatening person. Yezikin's fainting was something that was unexpected by everyone, but he and Gu Chenxi did not reveal a single word of the true situation to the outside world. When Nangong Luo and the others asked, Gu Chenxi only said, "I drank too much." I also learned from Su Tangzi that Yezikin worked tirelessly to start his own business, drank one cup after another, and didn't take his health seriously. Even Gu Chenxi mocked him coldly, "Do you really think you are a robot and can be dismantled and rebuilt if the parts are broken?" Ification. Wearing a white coat, gloves, and a mask, Gu Chenxi looks like a typical doctor. He expertly smashed the head of the potion bottle, inserted a thin needle into it to absorb the liquid, and gave Yezikin an injection. He deliberately slowed down the needle removal after the pricking to make Yezikin's skin sting. "If you want to die, just die as far away as possible. Don't come looking for me every time you get sick." Yezikin's expression remained unchanged. "I won't die." Gu Chenxi is as cold as the same, and he is still poisonous. "I do things with my own considerations. You should tell her the truth." "The truth? What truth?" Yezikin said in a hoarse voice, with a hint of sarcasm on his lips. "Tell her that it was the Ye family that caused the death of her parents, and even took advantage of the crisis to acquire the Chiao family, and then annexed it through adoption. Assets." Gu Chenxi was speechless. The two of them were arguing about something, but they didn't know that the man hiding outside the door with his hands tightly clasped his hands heard the last words clearly. "Oh my God! Thanks to Yanyan, Zioxi, and Lu Dao for the reward." Guess who heard it? Gongqian Li? Nangong Luo? Su Tangzi? Night only. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 270. Chapter 270. The Stolen Song. Yezikin and Yeyi are separated from each other, the hatred between their parents. Family feud. Poor thing is, Yezikin knows everything, but Yewei understands nothing. Yewei won a prize in the New Year's Day singer competition. The official who organized the competition sent generous gifts and also received a bonus. At the same time, she also received an official invitation call. They said they admired her singing and hoped she could go to the company this week to discuss some matters. Yuan Ran suddenly said, "I won't ask you to sign a contract to make your debut." Hee hee. This cold joke is really funny. Probably because he wanted to prove that he had grown up, Yewei did not call any friends this time, but went to the company alone. I checked after I went there and found that the company is a very formal company and there is nothing suspicious about safety. She went in and gave her name, and someone took her to the office. The only man I recognized sitting in the office at night was one of the judges that day. "Hello," she greeted politely first. The judge was enthusiastic but not serious. "Jiao Ling, is Miss Jiao right?" Yewei nodded, trying not to be so nervous and reserved, and answered openly, "Yes, I received your invitation call." "Ha ha ha," the judge smiled heartily. "It's like this. After Miss Jiao's performance that day, our judges unanimously believe that you are a malleable talent." "Why?" We know how to be honest and don't talk secretly. We are willing to train you. What do you think? This, she couldn't believe it. Something so pie in the sky happened, and it happened to hit her on the head. After reacting, Ye Wei quickly thanked you, the joy on his face could not be hidden. Thank you. I am willing to try. She lowered her eyes, with a little smile in her eyes. Hence, I missed the conspiratorial smile in the judge's eyes. The judge pretended to cough twice and took the opportunity to make a request, but, we hope that Miss Jiao can record another song so that we can apply to the company's upper management with a well-founded basis. The judges were very polite to Ye Wei and didn't show off at all, which made her less nervous. Going to the recording studio to record a song, Ye Wei was in an excited mood. The judges nodded to encourage her, then, Miss Jiao, just prepare. The equipment here is complete, so work hard and don't make any mistakes. Okay, Ye Wei nodded vigorously, full of hope in his heart. If she becomes more and more powerful, that person won't treat her like a child anymore, right? Then she is qualified to work hard to get what she wants, right? This recording determines whether she can be favored by the company's upper management, and Ye Wei is particularly serious about it. In the recording studio, she chose songs that suited her tone. I recorded it carefully twice and the judges praised it very well. Ye Wei was very happy. Is this all right? Okay, Miss Jiao, please go back and wait for the news. I will contact you then. The judge said that this is an application to the upper management. Yeah, Ye Wei knew that this matter could not be rushed, so he tried to relax his mind and wait for the result with peace of mind. From beginning to end, only she and Yuan Ran knew about this matter. Yuan Ran felt strange after hearing this. Is it that simple? Yes, we're just waiting for the results now. They are all minors who are not deeply involved in the world. How do they know the darkness hidden in the complicated society? Suddenly a cover song became popular on the internet. It was the only voice of Ye, but the name of the singer posted was not hers. Regarding the great God, those who wish to sing on Chinese Valentine's Day will no longer sing on Chinese Valentine's Day. In order not to disappoint readers, I went to learn Korean songs and Japanese songs. After I finished singing, I was asked to play the original songs. Do I need to go through so much trouble for just a dime? I don't want to do thankless things anymore on Kixi. End of this chapter.